was to complete the work of Moses and lead the Hebrews into the promised land, only to be strong and very courageous and observe and do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded you. Then you shall have good success wherever you go. This book of law, meditate on it day and night, and do as it is written. For then you shall make your way prosperous and have good success. I invite you to join me in using the creative power of our word. Let us speak from the heart this liberating affirmation. Despite the lack of evidence and seem embarrassment of what I desire, I now prepare for expanded good because I prepare. I am open mentally to recognize it and accept it to come to me. I am grateful it is mine now. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was Bruce's first time, too. Let's give him a round of applause. Ah, so again, it was written in the book of Exodus, and the Lord said to Moses, and keep in mind that these biblical stories were written by a culture of mystics who used story as a way to teach spiritual principle to their people. And so, even though there may be some basis that's true in these stories, that culture tends to embellish the stories in order to make a point and to catch our attention. So we, with our Western minds, who want the facts, give me the facts, don't always understand this use of story and allegory. And so let's open our hearts now a little bit as we listen to this, remembering that Moses is speaking to a burning bush. The burning bush symbolizing the burning light within each one of us, the indwelling God. And one of the things that happened is that Moses made a deep connection in that time to his own indwelling presence, this own indwelling presence, the universal God that indwells within each one of us. And so that voice within him said, I have come down to deliver the Israelites out of the hands of the Egyptians and to bring them to a good and large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey. So now, with this inner wisdom activated in Moses, this inner divine guiding him, he led an entire people, several million people, out of the hands and the bondage of the Egyptians and into a barren land, the wilderness, where they spent 40 years. And 40 years, again, they used numerology in these different cultures, and it means the time it takes for transformation. So this whole entire story is about our own transformational process. And it's told in a way so that we can remember, oh, this is how it happens. This is how it unfolds as we do this, as we activate this within ourselves, as we go within and make the connection, like Moses did when he meditated in the desert for so-called 40 years. That as we get in touch with this indwelling presence, that we too can be led into our own land of milk and honey. And again, this is about turning within. It's developing the consciousness of prosperity and success from which all else is added. Jesus taught us, seek first the kingdom and all else is added. That's what this is all about. This is about understanding that it's a heart journey. It's a journey that is a state of consciousness, so that we are then preparing ourselves. We're continuously preparing ourselves for this greater awareness of our oneness, our wholeness, our completeness, that we are already living in a state of heaven, that heaven is all around us. That was so beautifully stated in your song. And so it's just about us wakening up to it, opening our eyes and seeing it, being aware of it, and listening within for the guidance, the wisdom, the ideas to lead us into what is ours to do. So, the land of milk and honey is our theme for this month. And today, I'd like to focus on a particular principle. And by the way, for those of you who haven't been here, if you want to catch the other messages, they're on our website and they're also in our newsletter. And you can kind of catch up on all the other principles that we taught so far this month that are related to this story of Moses. So, Catherine Ponder wrote a book called The Millionaire Moses. And she said, if you have worked inwardly and outwardly to realize certain blessings in your life and they have not appeared, it may be because you are now ready to use the prosperity law of completion. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, the prosperity law of completion. So let's look at this word completion. What does it mean? It means lacking nothing. It means whole. It means finished. It means accomplished. So for those of us who've been here for a while, how does that work in the type of affirmative prayer that we use? Think about it. When we go through our prayer, which is understanding that God is all there is and I am one with that presence, and now I speak this word of truth about my life, the good of my life. I give thanks for it. I release this word into the universal law of mind, and so it is. So what we're talking about today is releasing, letting go, trusting that we have done all that we can, and proclaiming that it is done, that it is complete. And that allows us to relax and let the universal law work for us. So completion. So there are actually three different aspects of completion that I want to share with you today, three different principles. And so the first one is speaking the words of completion. And Catherine Ponder puts it like this. She said, when you have done all you know how to do in inner and outer ways to solve any problem or to create any new good, and still results have not come, this is the time to release and cease further effort. To speak nothing, think nothing, do nothing, to let it alone. To let it alone. I was thinking of a story that I read one time. I believe it was by Alan Cohen. It was a little book that he had. And he talked about when there were all kinds of issues going on in this man's business. And so this what the man did is he went into the silence in another room and spent some time in prayer, and then he just thought about other things. And pretty soon, all of the different issues that were going on started resolving themselves. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that we never do anything. We listen for guidance, but sometimes we just have to sit and relax, let go, wait, and trust, and stop all the efforting. So, when Moses had done all that he knew to get the Hebrews to the promised land, he actually brought them right up to the edge of the promised land so they could see it. But he didn't want to go any further because he got reports back that there were giants that were living there that would keep them away. So everybody kind of got paralyzed and stopped at the very edge. So he knew this principle: when I've done all I could, I've done all I should. Repeat that after me. When I've done all I could, I've done all I should. So here's a little bit about the symbolism of the different characters that are in this story. Moses, again, brought them all the way up to the edge. He had learned in the court of the Pharaoh laws of prosperity and success, these laws of spirituality from the priests. And they taught these to all of the Pharaoh's court, the people in the Pharaoh's court. And so he was imparting all of this to the Hebrews. So it was head knowledge of the principles. So Joshua then, who took over from Moses and then completed the journey into the promised land, symbolized the heart, loving those laws and having the courage. Courage, the root word of courage is what? Heart. It means heart. So he loved the laws and had the courage to use them. So this is a journey then from head to heart that we're talking about here, where we put our heart into it. You've heard that before, when we put our heart into something. And sometimes putting our heart into it means letting go and trusting. So we continue to do what we're guided to do, but there's a sense of ease and grace in it. There's a letting go. So think about it. When we worry, when we try to force what we want into being, and when we fear it won't come, what happens to our vibration? It's in harmony. In harmony. And it's on an invisible realm, and it's almost as if there is a little sign that we carry around to our good that says, do not enter. Because of the disharmony, because of the stress of it all. So this invisible shell of tension then radiates out to others and repels the good that we've worked so hard to attain. So I'd like you to, in fact, I invite you to think of some good that you've been desiring. Think of it. Can everybody have something in mind? Some good that you've been desiring that just hasn't shown up for some reason. And then turn within and close your eyes. And let's speak words of completion, okay? So here we go. God's work is finished in this situation.
God's work is finished in this situation.
I see and feel only completion.
I see and feel only completion.
I have done all I could.
I have done all I could.
So I have done all I should.
So I have done all I should.
Therefore I am happy and grateful.
Therefore I am happy and grateful.
And I breathe, take a breath,
And breathe.
and relax
And relax.
in knowing
In knowing
that my good manifests now,
that my good manifests now.
quickly and in peace.
Quickly and in peace.
Wonderful. So that's the first prosperity law of completion, is speaking your word of completion. The second prosperity law of completion. So we sometimes stop our progress because we will not release the current outworn good that has completed its cycle in order that we receive a greater good. So sometimes this is the most difficult to face in ourselves, is when we have a current good that's, things are going okay, but it's maybe something we need to let go for something greater to come forward. So I think of in the story of Moses, when he left the court of the Pharaoh, where he had anything that he desired. It was very abundant. He was surrounded in abundance and a lavish lifestyle, but he gave that up. He left, and he fulfilled something greater, didn't he? He fulfilled a mission to transform consciousness from bondage, the bondage of the ideas of lack and limitation and dependency, to ideas of I have everything within myself. And this is what he taught the Hebrews, the divine within me, everything in myself to live the life I choose and desire. So a movement from bondage to freedom. So it was not only for the Hebrew people, it was for all of humanity. So he stepped into a much greater good ultimately. So sometimes it's that way with us too. Actually, it's really natural for us to step into greater and greater good. But it sometimes means leaving something behind that's not serving us anymore, even if it looks like a good. So I'll give you an example. I worked as a school counselor for many years, and I loved what I did, and I was good at what I did. And there came a time where I had all kinds of signs that it was time for me to move on and that there was something else, and I didn't really quite know what the something else was at the time. And some of you have heard this story before. When I was away and it was in the summertime, I got this call from the office, and they said, the roof is collapsed in on your office, my counseling office at school. And my roof is collapsed. They said, you better come in. It's really a mess. It's like gotten all over everything. And I had been at a journaling retreat, and at the journaling retreat, I kept getting the message, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. There's something else waiting for you. And so I knew it. I'd been a practitioner for a while in this teaching, and I knew that this was guidance, and I knew I needed to follow it. So I went in, talked to Dan about it, went in the next day, and I resigned a very good job, with a lot of nice income coming in. But yet I knew it was time to move on. And then later it became revealed to me that this was my next calling, which is what I'm doing now, which I feel is a greater good that I was invited into. So what is it in your life that seems like it's good, but maybe there's a greater good that's calling you, and it's going to ask you to leave something behind? Take a moment and pause and think about that. What is the outworn good that's no longer serving you? Are you willing to release it for something greater? Prosperity law of completion, number 3. In the story of Moses, Deuteronomy chapter 32, Moses knew that no experience is finished unless you give it your final blessing. So it's actually called the Song of Moses. So he brought the Israelites, who continued to criticize him over and over again because he hadn't brought them into the promised land. He brought them into the view of the promised land. They could see it off in the distance. And he gave them his final blessing. He was now free, and they were now free to enter the promised land. So again, what does this symbolize for all of us? So this is about the unpleasant things in our lives that we need to let go of. So your good can't find your way to you unless you complete your unfinished business, whatever it might be. And that means if there's someone who is still troubling to you, even though it might be something in the past, or some situation that troubles you, past or current, then until you complete that business, that unfinished business, it's a block to the flow of your good, of the next new expression of your good. So here's what's recommended here, is that we bless, give thanks, and also declare prosperity for that other person or situation. Otherwise, what happens is that particular problem will show up over and over again in different disguises. Anybody ever experienced that? If you don't forgive, then the same type of person or situation or whatever continues to come up and reveal itself to you until you finally let it go. So there once was a grocer who went to his guru in great distress. He described to the guru that he and his family had been in the grocery business for over 100 years, and they had a really nice little grocery store. But right across the street, a chain store, a grocery chain store, was building their this huge grocery store that he knew would be his undoing. He knew that it would drive him out of business. And so he was beside himself. He didn't know what to do. And so the guru looked at him and said, I better go back. The guru looked at him and said, if you fear the owner of the chain store, you will hate him, and it will be your undoing. And he invited him to each morning walk outside, stand on the sidewalk, look at his own property, bless it, give thanks for it, and proclaim prosperity, that it has prospered. And then he said, and turn to the chain store, bless it, give thanks for it, and wish it prosperity, proclaim that it is prosperous. And the grocer looked at him as if he was crazy. He said, are you out of your mind? No way. Why would I do that? Why would I want this man to prosper? It's going to be my undoing. And to this he replied, the gratitude and blessings that you give the owner of the chain store will rebound as your good. Any evil that you wish him will destroy you. Any evil you wish him will destroy you. So 6 months later, the grocer came to the guru and reported he had been hired as the one to be in charge of the entire chain store, even though his little store had gone out of business. And he said his life was better than ever. So these are the kinds of things that can happen. It's a story that illustrates for us the power of wishing well to all, because we are connected with all. When we withhold our love from anyone, we withhold our love from ourselves. Does everybody get that? I mean, that's how it works. We're all connected. We're all one. So what troublesome person or situation in your life do you need to bless and give thanks for? So I invite you to think about that, and let's do it right now, okay? So you don't have to say their name. You can just say, I bless you. So we're first going to bless ourselves. So I give thanks for myself.
I give thanks for myself.
I bless myself.
I bless myself.
I accept prosperity for myself.
I accept prosperity for myself.
And now look at the person or persons or whatever it is in your own mind and just say, I give thanks for you.
I give thanks for you.
I bless you.
I bless you.
I accept for you prosperity.
I accept for you prosperity.
And feel that in your heart. Beautiful. So again, the 3 ways in which we practice this prosperity law of completion. Speak words of completion, which have to do with saying it is done. I release, I let go, and then to wait and trust. The second one is to let go of an outgrown good to experience a greater good. The third is to bless and accept the highest good for anyone or anything that is troubling you. And then the most important thing is to apply the prosperity laws, not only that I mentioned today, but all of the ones that I talked about this month that were passed down through this beautiful story of Moses and Joshua. The head work and the heart work. The releasing and the letting go. So that you shall make your way prosperous. And so that you shall have good success. So I invite you to turn within and let's pray. Think of your situation that you would like to prosper in, whatever it might be, health, wealth, job, just a sense of inner peace, whatever it might be. a greater love, knowing that God truly is all there is, one life, one presence, one power, one source, that the good that we desire is already present because of who we are and because of whose we are, emanations of the Most High. So I place myself and whatever is going on for all people lovingly in the hands of the Divine Spirit, knowing that this time is the time of divine completion. Miracles follow miracles and wonders never cease. I release all outgrown good, and I invite all as well to release all outgrown good, and I experience that which is greater. I embrace the change, the growth, the expansion of my good and everyone else's good as we embrace this truth. I bless, give thanks for, and am willing to forgive everything and everyone in my past or present, including myself. And I know as I am doing this, it invites others to do this as well. This final blessing brings completion between us and all, now and forever. I'm so happy and grateful that our good now manifests quickly and in peace. In God's right action, I place my full trust. I relax, I breathe, and know full well that it is done, it is complete, and so it is. Amen.